So welcome everybody to this edition of the Research Collective for Decoloniality and Fashion's incredible presentation called the Global Fashioning Assembly. Such an honor to be part of this first edition of a global brand new fashion event. This is not the globalization of fashion. This is fashion that's coming from the grassroots, ground up around the whole world. And this is, I have to say, what my heart has been longing for at least as long as I've been aware of the detrimental effects of the global fashion industry. So congratulations to the Research Collective, and so exciting to be part of this. Our next slide is in Dutch, and hier kan ik iedereen welkom heten die uit het Nederlands Nederland aanwezig is. Hebben wij Nederlanders in de zaal? Dat weet ik niet. Zowel misschien iets zeggen in de chat, zo van ik ben hier en ik kom uit Haarlem of waar vandaan. Wij doen deze presentatie tweetalig, zodat Nederlanders zich ook thuis voelen in deze presentatie. Because it's a global assembly, we really want to strive for inclusiveness, and that is to make sure that everybody in their respective space in the world feels like their voice is equally valid. The problem is, of course, English becomes a lingua franca, franca being a misnomer, it should be lingua English, but yeah, that's just the facts. We have to communicate. And so where there are going to be Dutch people speaking, I or Angela or Erica will do our best to translate that for you. So here we are in the Netherlands. This is the Dutch chapter of the presentation. I've put in a rather unique map. The Netherlands, let's see if I can do it here, someplace up here where there's my star under my cursor. This is not a map showing nation states. This is showing bioregions, which is probably more fitting to what we're doing when we're looking at fashion from the ground up, and certainly today, because we're looking at what the Dutch soil is generating in terms of fashion, because we're talking about the linen project, an extraordinary project here in the Netherlands, and absolutely the best candidate for today's presentation. So now you know where we are. And if anybody was wondering about that, you know, I was reading that Holland had, believe it or not, I believe it was 13 different colonies throughout its history. So it was very much a colonial power, this tiny little spot on the map. And today we're doing something with fashion that is not about that colonial spreading of, you know, what the Dutch had to offer or take. We're talking about a fashion system or a clothing system that was present before the colonial era. I would like very much to thank the Stimuleringsfonds Creatieve Industrie. That's a funding agency here in the Netherlands that supports creatives. Obviously, as you can see it from its name, even if you are an English speaker. Also, Culture Fashion for the support for this presentation. It's wonderful to have the support for this new kind of global event. And on the right of your screen, you'll see our presenters today. I will be presenting them one at a time. I should mention also the support from the Linen Project. Excuse me for leaving that out. And also the RCDF, the Research Collective for Decoloniality and Fashion, and the Global Fashioning Assembly, which is, of course, what we're all part of now. So now I move on to the most pleasurable part of today. I get to introduce our first speaker. I met Joan, tell me, at lunch, didn't I, Joan? It was at the Horsterhof. And that was a remarkable moment. I've known about the Linen Project for years, and ever since the beginning, and I wanted to be involved, but it never quite happened. And then one day I got a message, because I'm into I have their newsletter. I got a message that they were going to show the very first pieces of cloth from their linen endeavors at a farm, an organic farm. And I was so excited, because I thought this will be the first time in my life that I have seen local fabric from the soil that I live on. And I just couldn't keep away, of course. And everybody there was warm and welcoming. And they showed so many rolls of fabric that were just exquisitely produced. I just was blown away. And I met Joan at lunch, and she was so enthusiastic. And I discovered that she had been part of, or she still is, part of the fashion industry, and is very engaged in helping the transition with fashion brands towards sustainability. And hopefully she's been with the Linen Project right from the beginning. Now she is actually a co-coordinator, and that means she's the best person to hear from today. Some background about the project, and I better stop praising and talking and let Joan get onto it. Go ahead, Joan. I'll have to stop screen sharing. There, go. You can go for it, Joan.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Sandra. And yes, it was a very, very nice moment at the Hostelhof also for us. So yeah, first of all, of course, we are very happy that the Global Fashion Assembly has invited us to host this very, very special event also for me. So creating fashion system that can work for everybody, for all the people in the world. And it's also very nice to see what the Linen Project is creating in the Netherlands. So I will start sharing my screen. Let me see. Where is my presentation? Here it is. So everything, yeah, where can you go? You go there. Yeah. All right, so everybody is seeing it, and everybody is, of course, hopefully can hear it. So let me tell you about the Linen Project. And yeah, you said to me that I was from the beginning at the Linen Project, but then I must give the credits to the initiators. And I think that's always very important to do so. So the Linen Project is a hands-on practice-based research environment, and it has been initiated by Pascal Gatsen, who was working for the Artes University of Arts, and she created the Master Practice Health in Common, together with Willemien Ippel, and she is one of the founders of the Crafts Council, the Netherlands. So the Linen Project investigates and works towards reactivating the economic viability of a small-scale local flax cultivation and linen production in the Netherlands. So it is committed to identifying, evolving, and strengthening socio-economic patterns and behaviors that are rooted in a common approach. That's also very important. The project activities facilitate interaction based on participation and mutuality. So that's also very important for the Linen Project. But what's also important, it's a learning by doing approach to all stages of flax and linen production. So that allows for meaningful and embodied ways of being and learning for all partners involved. And that for me, like you say, I'm coming from the commercial fashion industry, but to be on the land and to put my hands in the soil and to see how a fiber that our clothes are made of is growing was really an eye-opener for me. So we started in 2018 by cultivating a very piece of land at the Open Air Museum in the Netherlands, in Arnhem. It is in the eastern part of the Netherlands. So just to see what it takes to grow flax. Here you see the man is preparing the land. It was also very nice that one student of the Practice Health in Common, Master Takahiro, also did some research to see how much land was needed to make one t-shirt, to grow the flax to make one t-shirt. And you see here the different stages of the growing of the flax. And there's the relation between the t-shirts and the piece of land. So we see that we need a lot of land to make the cultivation of the fiber and to make a garment. And he's working here on the land, and here we do the pulling of the flax, so the harvesting. So like I said, for the linen project, it's also very important to participate, to involve the public into the project. So here at the Open Air Museum, there was a call for volunteers, and a lot of people came and helped us doing the harvest. And luckily also children who like to also work with the flax, and here they do the rippling. So where you divide the seeds from the plants. And in 2019, we started to grow our own fields. So we were working at 2 farmers. So one farmer was the Horsterhof, where we met Sandra. And there we had a very small piece of land, let's say half an acre. And we wanted to investigate how the process worked if you do everything by hand or using only small hand tools. And of course, we needed a lot of volunteers to help us to do the weeding by hand. So you have to go all over the land and pull the small plants between the flax plants. So working by hand is important. And here the flax is already a little bit higher, so you have to do the weeding maybe 2 or 3 times. So now we can still walk between the flax plants and try to pull out the weeds. And what was also very nice to experiment that the farmers, they did not know the flax as a resting crop. So they discovered this again, but they did not know how to cultivate it. So they started an app group to share all the information and to share knowledge. But of course, we had some coaching people, Thalys and Carolien, because they helped us. They had a lot of knowledge growing the flax, so they helped us with this. And the call for volunteers also, again, to do the weeding and to do later the harvesting. And also in this group of volunteers, there's also started an app group to share information, just to say, oh, it's going to be nice weather, who is going to do the lunch. So there was a community that arises naturally. So it was not done by someone who said that you have to do it, but it just arose. So that was also very nice to experiment. And here you see the weeding by a kind of weeding machine. So you have to lay on your belly, and this machine goes over the land, and then you can pull the weeds. And of course, this is always a very beautiful sight when you see the flax blooming with beautiful purple flowers or white flowers, but it's only blooming for 1 day. So if you come across a field of flax and you see it blooming, stop, take a picture, enjoy the sight, because the next day it's gone. And then you see that the flax is maturing and the seeds arise. So then it's time to do the harvest. And again, a lot of volunteers were called and came in to help us to do the harvest. Here you see a group of people. So you have to pull out the plant with the roots, etc., and you have to lay it on the land. And again, also this community, you know, people got to know each other. It were people from different backgrounds, and all kinds of relationships arose, and that was also very nice to experiment. And then after the flax has been rotted, it will be taken off the land. So I will tell you more about this process later. And then we make the sheaves. It's a beautiful sight, we think. And then it was taken to the working place where we were processing it by hands. And on the other fields, it was on the Lingenhof. And the Lingenhof is a biodynamic farm. And we had a much bigger piece of land, so approximately 3.3 acres. And there we wanted to investigate the process if you do it by machine. And here you see the pulling machine or the harvest machine. And it was done by a company called Vanderbilt in Zeeland, in Holland. We still have a lot of flax cultivation, especially across or near the sea or near the coast. So Vanderbilt is a company which is growing the flax for the seeds, but they also have some machines and they can also do some processing. So they came along with their machine, with their truck to Arnhem to harvest our bigger fields. And here we, when you pull the flax out of the soil, you spread it onto the land, and then the rotting process can start. And the rotting process is meant to dissolve the pectin between the fiber and the stem. And that appears a lot of processes going on into the plant by the winds and the sun and the rain. And it's a very difficult process to know when the rotting process is done. Because if you have it rotted for too long time, then your fiber will be affected. But if you have rotted it for too short a time, then you still find some wooden pieces on the fiber itself within the stem, and it's very difficult to process. And what we like about this picture is that the color of the rotted flax is almost the same as the soil. So then it's almost done to be taken off the land. So here you see, so we have to check all the time, is the process of the rotting done, or do we have to do some more? So it takes approximately 2 weeks. And on the right side, you see the fiber coming up. Well, for me, that was also kind of wonder, that you break the stem and suddenly there's the fiber. So that's wonderful. So we checked it also, we had it tested. And you see here in the middle, you see a bunch of flax where the rotting process was not enough. There you see also the wooden pieces. So it had to lay on the land for a little bit longer. So then Van der Beeld made all the rolls, so not the sheaves, but the rolls, and they took it to Zeeland, to their processing machine, where they do the heckling and the zwingelen. Yeah, sometimes it's very difficult to translate these words, but they make then a kind of hekelband. It's a heckling bundle of fibers. And you can send this hekelband to the spinning facility so that they can process it and do the spinning. So our first harvest from 2019 was sent to a spinning mill in Poland. So we are not totally local because there's not a spinning facility in the Netherlands who can spin the long fibers of the linen. This is Pascal, and she went there to Poland to see if they could spin our special harvest, and they could do so. We were very proud that they were willing to spin only our batch, because normally all kinds of batches coming in, and they make this this spinning of all kinds of harvested. But because we had the biological seeds and we were growing it on a biodynamic farm, we wanted to have our own batch. But of course we had to pay for that. And here you see the hekelband that I was telling you about. This picture has been taken at a spinning mill in Italy called Linificio. We went there last year because they can also build small-scale machines. And we are looking to see if we can maybe start up a small-scale spinning facility in the Netherlands. And then here you see that the hekelband, it has to go through a lot of machines where the fibers are stretched out a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more, and then put aside. And then at the end you have a bundle of yarn, which is called a roving. And the roving, you can start spinning from that. So this process has to be done 4 times. You see it here that the yarns are already more shiny and more fine. This is the spinning machine, so the wet spinning. And here is the yarn. So we were very proud that we had the first cultivated local flax yarn in the Netherlands. So we had it last year because it took a little bit time of the COVID pandemic, of course, so they were also closed down. So we were very happy when we received the yarn in our hands, and very proud, of course. But in 2020, we started a very nice initiative called the Shared Stewardship, because there was in the group of volunteers, I explained to you that they had this app group, and people wanted to have a more working together group. So then we started the Shared Stewardship. Everybody could participate. So there were 30 people who did so, of all kinds of backgrounds, designers, makers, a cheesemaker, everything, everybody was there. And together, so with these 30 people, we took care of the cultivation of the flax and of the processing of the harvest and also of the finances. So that was a very, very interesting process. And we wanted to do also everything as much as possible by hand to experiment the process. And not by reading it or telling it, but by doing it yourself. Here you see a kind of hand tool to do the sowing. And again, the weeding by hands. So all the small plants, they have to come out to protect also the flax plants. And then it was time to do the harvest. So I can remember in 2020 that it was very, very, very hot. So we started in the morning, very enthusiastic with a big group of people. And I think at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, we almost fainted because it was really too hot. So then we decided to together to do the harvest very early in the morning. Here you see the plants, so you can pull it out with the roots. And here it's been spread out of the land. So if you do that by hand, it's a kind of, I don't know, you take better care of the plants. It's not done by a machine, but you have it in your hands and you're very grateful that there's a very nice plant with beautiful fiber inside, and then you spread it on the land. So after the routing process, we could take in the harvest and we put it in a truck, and then we went to the working place. Yeah, what's also very important, that nature is in charge. That's also something that we experimented. I told you that for the first harvest it was too hot. Last year we had a very good season of the weather, so we thought, we will have a very good harvest. But then the rains came in and the storm came in, and I think 30% of our flax fields went down, and we could not harvest it anymore. And that was also the case for a lot of flax people, flax farmers, of course, all around Europe, that they lost a lot of their harvest. And last year we had a lot of rain when we had to do this. So it was more dense on the mud than to do the harvest, but still, okay, so you have to, you have to do it. And this is Anna, and Anna was also a student of the Master Practice Health in Common, and she did do an experiment in her hometown in Germany, and she wanted to see what was the effect on all different kinds of sowing in. So if you sow the flax with a lot of space between it, or in a row or random, and she did do a research about that. Yeah, and like I told you, spinning facility in the Netherlands is still missing, so we are dreaming about it. Because the spinning facilities which are still in Europe are all very, very big companies. So you need a very big volume to do your spinning. So we are dreaming about a small scale spinning facility, also to educate people to use the machines and to do the spinning process. So we are working on that. But Anna did also do some research, and she went to Canada, to Nova Scotia. There's the Taproot Fiber Lab of Patricia. And this woman is trying to build small-scale machines. And she can build a small-scale spinning machine, but the preparation process, which I showed you, has to be done 4 times. That is still very difficult to do. Yes, and then we had this beautiful yarn, and we had explored and undertaken all the processes involved in the cultivation of the flax. So the next step was to make a fabric, and we are very lucky that in Holland we do have a small-scale weaving mill, which is run by Annemieke Koster. So we have now a partnership with her, and she is weaving our yarn from 2019. So we can make the fabric, and we wanted to go to the market. We wanted to explore our markets, but then so we reached out to like-minded people, let's say small fashion labels or textile companies or designers or makers, but also citizens. And together we like to share the responsibility and the risk and the potential of establishing a local linen economy in the Netherlands. So try to investigate a new kind of linen economy. So first we could do our own chain tree. For me, that's also, wow, that is really great to have your own chain tree, because normally it goes about very big volumes. So now we have our own fabric, which has been cultivated in the Netherlands. And here the weaving process starts. This is one of her machines. And this is Annemieke. She's working on her on one of the weaving machines. And sometimes the yarn breaks and then she has to repair it by hands. So she's working here. And here you see one piece of the fabric in the weaving mill. And this is one of my favorite pictures. This is farmer André Jurius. And he's the farmer of the Lingenhof, where we cultivated this flax. And he's wearing a working jacket of the linen. And he co-created it together with Pascal and Melanie. So together they made this jacket. So he also said, I would like to have this design. I would like to have pockets there. I would like to have better seams over there. So, and then we made this jacket for him. And he's now on his land wearing a working jacket that he co-created with the linen project, made from the linen or the flax that was cultivated on his own land. I think that's very cool. So yeah, what are we doing? The current activities include the cultivation and production of organic flax and linen in the Gelderland region. Of course, we have the wonderful shared stewardship initiative, and later on one of my colleague stewards will tell you more about it. So I'm very happy that they are also here. So we have the Linen Kavels initiative, where we offer the fabric in 5 meters only, so to reach out to a bigger group of people. And we work on the development of a consortium for a small-scale flax spinning facility. And of course, we have an open source knowledge exchange to create a community-supported basis for a local linen economy. So if you are interested, please have a look at our website, where you can find beautiful pictures and all the information. So here is all the information, but I think that Sandra also put it on the sheet, so maybe later she will share it with you. And I also like to point out the photographic credits to Rob Velker, who made all these wonderful pictures. I thank you for your attention.
You're still muted, Sandra.
Yeah, sorry, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Joan. That was really enlightening. It's so helpful to understand, really. And I understand that's one of the reasons why Pascal started this project, is to have people understand exactly what goes into their clothing. And I know that after exploring linen for this seminar, I started to regret all the clothes that I had recycled. I just thought, oh man, was I dumb to let that cotton, that linen, that what a hemp go. And the other thing that I've found so exciting about this process of learning is just this week, it dawned on me that my ancestors 5 generations ago in Ireland were flax farmers. And I know absolutely nothing about the processes of flax. By the way, some of those terms that you mentioned, those difficult terms, I should have put them on the information sheet, which is by right now already in the chat. Please have a look at it. I didn't provide a link, but it is available. Just go Google for process of linen making, and you'll find all of those amazing terms. I know that some of them have moved into colloquial day-to-day Dutch, like ik heb daar een hekel aan, meaning hekelen is a very difficult process. Yeah, so thank you so much for giving us this background, and we look forward to more background from the other members, what they have done with this process, we have a few minutes in which to receive questions. Let me see. I'm going to go into the chat and see if anybody has posed any questions, or, you know, even faster is to just raise your hand and you can pose the question yourself. Oh, here's a question from Fariel Arif. Question, would you call the Linen Project a not-for-profit or a social enterprise? Maybe Fariel Arif would like to explain why that question is important too. Okay, if you'd like to go ahead with that, Joan.
Hi, can I speak?
Oh, yes,
sorry.
here you are.
Sorry, I was actually looking at the project's website right now. So I was wondering, I've been doing a research, like, you know, in Pakistan on wool industry and, you know, local wool makers in the northern Pakistan. So I was wondering, like, you know, how do you sustain yourself throughout years? Because, you know, for a research, if it's not a funded project by any university or educational institute, you know, how does this project sustain on its own, and how did it sustain initially? Because, you know, when you start a project, usually there's not much support because you're not producing anything. You're just putting in your efforts and your money and lots of energy. And this is what I wanted to know, that, you know, how much time did you give, you know, to that project while you were not making any profit out of it?
Yeah.
And that's why I was wondering if it's a not-for-profit or a social enterprise, because you're selling the fabric as well to the designers.
Yeah. Well, we started, of course, we have been funded. We are a subsidized project, and also a lot of time and energy of ourselves and all the people involved, of course. So I think we still need a lot of fundings to do the work, because there's still so much research to do. But with the linen kavels, we try to investigate how, if it's possible to build this linen economy and this value chain on different values. So more on sharing the risks and the revenues. So that we are doing in partnership with Enschede Textielstad. But for us, it just started. It's a process that we have to learn. Again, we have to learn by doing it. So we just started it, and we have to see what is coming up, because it's not so easy to do that. That is our experiment. So still, we hope that we can have, of course, more fundings to expand our research. But yeah, it would be wonderful if in the future we can, you know, be a partner somewhere in the linen value chain, where also for the project can be some revenues or some profits. But that is not really our goal. It is our goal to do the research on different behavior in a fashion industry or in a textile industry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from our members and even other presenters? Because of course your combined voices, you know each other. You've worked together now for 2 or 3 years. Maybe you'd like to chime in and amplify something that Joan has said. I've been struck by this notion of regeneration, and I think we'll get it towards the end of this seminar as well. Nature is in charge, you said, Joan. So while we're looking at, you know, social enterprise, economic systems, ways of doing, I think underlying all of that is that theme of nature is in charge. And it seems to me that there's an incredible added value given the global crises that we're involved in learning how to adapt again to nature. I was thinking about that, how ego-centered we've become, or at least we're always described as being ego-centered, you know, consumers. And yet when you work with the land and the land is in control, in fact, you're nurturing yourself far more than as a consumer. It's what probably one of the most profound ironies.
Yeah, for me it was. Like I said, I've been working in the commercial fashion industry, and still I do a lot of consulting for the sustainability in the fashion industry. But I think if you learn it yourself, like I said, if you are on the land and you put your hands in the soil and you pull out this plant, so there's a more gratitude to what the earth has to offer us. Yeah, it's really a wonder, and so then also I feel there's a change inside of me. So also a different awareness of your own behavior and your own attitudes towards towards yourself, towards nature, but also towards each other. And I think that can be also very important to create this or to change this global fashion system, that we start the change. We have to change ourselves and our behavior. And for me, that was really an eye-opener. Yes. So
it was transformative for you. So
yeah,
I see that we have another hand here. Sarah Chang, please go ahead and ask your question.
Oh, hi. I really enjoyed hearing you talk about this whole amazing project, amazing research experience and transformative experience. And I was really struck by the number of times the idea of pride came up when you were speaking. You said a number of times, we were really proud of this and we were really proud of that. And you could also images of people who clearly looked very proud.
Yeah.
And I was setting that against the idea of that we're troubled or ashamed of the way in which we consume. So I just wondered if you had any thoughts about that, because on the one hand, we've been talking about being, humbled before nature. But on the other hand, there is this very strong motivation or sense of transformation or satisfaction that's coming through with the word pride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe it's also the words when is it enough? When is it sufficient enough? Or maybe different values. So that is, and now we are dominated by certain values in the world, and we have to live by that. But there's also something else. There are also other values to create. It's not about shame, maybe, but maybe it's to look forward and to see, to research all kinds of solutions for all the crises together and by listening to each other. And for us, for the Linen Project, it's the learning by doing it. So just start to do it. Don't talk about it, but do it. And then you can experiment a lot of things and you can change your way or your way of thinking. Is that a little bit the answer? Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you for the question.
Yes, thank you for the question, Sarah, and thank you for the answer, Joan. It's a very profound transformation that you're engaged with, and I wish you very much luck integrating this transformation that you're going through, just because you're working with the land and with your hands, and at the same time you're working with the fashion industry, and that strikes me as a very fertile and very important combination. Yeah. We're running out of time, but I don't know if you want to respond to that very quickly, or should we save it for the end?
No, maybe respond very, very quickly. So if I look at my work for the commercial industry, then I see that people want to control things and they want to change it from their own perspective. Well, I'll always say, but you have to change your behavior and you have to maybe look at your attitudes to other people in other countries. And I still see that it's so difficult because we are so stuck in the system and it's such a tight and dominant system. So, but working for the Linen Project gives me so much hope also for a better future. Yeah, so that's my answer.
Pride.
Looking forward to my colleagues.
Good. We're going to move on now to your colleague, Karin, who I think is very much going through that transformation at a very profound level. I also met Karin when I met you, Joan. I met her at the Horsterhof, the organic farm. And to my great pleasure, she was from my very own town of Oosterbeek. And she invited me as soon as possible to come down and see her, her garden here in Oosterbeek, where she had decided to go ahead and work with flax on her own. I'm going to share screen again, see if I can do this successfully. Yeah, there, everybody can see my screen. Here's Karin. And this was taken on the very first time that we met beside the old church. It's called the oldest church in the Netherlands. And the piece of land that she works is beside that old church. You can read here that she's engaged in this learning by doing, exploring lost knowledges, spinning, weaving, dyeing. She's absolutely enthusiastic and engaged 100%. Here we will be watching. Sorry, are people seeing the chat in the image in my share screen? I hope not, because it's in my screen. Okay. Here, this is part of the film. I was present when the film was shot with Karin. It was done by Theodore Adriaans, who's been very involved with filming various things for the project, the Linen Project. And this was one of those special moments. Karin's face is all lit up with joy, and she's saying, "Can you imagine that this color comes from this plant?" And then everybody wants to get tears in their eyes. At least I do. And here we have Karin in the shadow of the old church showing her sheaves, and Theodore is filming her. That's on the left, and on the right, she's showing us a later process in making yarn from the stalks of the plant. Oops, sorry, I moved too far. She's working on a piece of land that is owned by an idealistic couple, Henrike and Erik. They let out pieces of land for enthusiasts like Karin, and they also have the first You Pick garden in the Netherlands, where we can all go down and work with them on their garden and reap also the benefits of it. So it's a very holistic, full circle kind of thing. I would like to ask Natalie or Mandish to please play the video called Karin at the Global Fashion Assembly. And I don't know, Karin, if you want to say something so that your screen lights up and then people get to see you before your film starts, or while Natalie is preparing to show the film. Hi.
Oh, well. Hi, I'm Karin, and thank you so much for the nice introduction.
Super, thanks for joining us. So in the dead of night last night, I was making subtitles for the film, and I realized after listening to Joan's talk that I wasn't completely correct in all of my technical terms. I apologize. I didn't know at the time that, you know, a mechanical trekker, a puller, was actually pulling the plant up by the roots, but I thought she meant a tractor, which actually also means a puller. But anyway, so thank you, Joan, for clarifying that. Karin was saying that she preferred to pull by hand to get the plant by the root.
Ik ben Karin en we zijn hier in de pluktuin in Oosterbeek bij de Oude Kerk. En dit jaar heb ik hier een mini-verlasveldje mogen verbouwen. Ik ben 2 jaar linnensteward geweest toen ik van het project hoorde. En toen dacht ik, daar ga ik meteen aan meedoen. En nu kreeg ik dit jaar de kans om hier een mini-veldje zelf te verbouwen in mijn eigen dorp. Dus ik heb 6 vierkante meter vlas hier verbouwd. Een heel klein veldje, maar heel goede opbrengst. En ik heb hier ook weden en meekrap mogen telen. Ik was met kaas maken bezig en ik wilde echt de oude manier van kaas maken gaan opzoeken. En ik wilde daar ook echte kaasdoeken van brandnetel voor gebruiken. Die zijn niet te koop, dus dacht ik, dan ga ik dat zelf doen. Brandnetel zat. Maar ik had eigenlijk nog nooit gesponnen, ook nog nooit geweven. Dus ik ben via Crafts Council als eerste een spinworkshop om vlassenspinnen gaan volgen. En zo ben ik uiteindelijk de steward geworden en niet met brandnetel, maar op dit moment nog steeds met linnen bezig. Omdat ik juist zo geïnteresseerd ben in zaad, hoe dat zaad werkt, hoe die plant groeit. Ik heb om een 6 vierkante meter vlas heb ik 6 verschillende rassen gezaaid. Ook omdat ik juist wilde leren kennen wat de verschillen zijn tussen de verschillende vlassoorten. En je ziet in ieder geval al dat dit is Fries witbloei, een heel stuk kleiner is dan deze bijvoorbeeld. Dit is Verlies, een modern ras. Waar ik naar op zoek ben is een vlassoort wat bij mij past. Wat bij mijn omgeving past en bij mijn manier van werken. Ik hoef niet machinaal te trekken, dus mijn vlas hoeft niet zo sterk te zijn dat die geschikt is om machinaal te trekken. Mijn vlas kan misschien wel juist heel lang en fragiel zijn, omdat ik daar een mooiere vlasdraad van kan spinnen. En daar ben ik nog naar op zoek. En door juist verschillende rassen te zaaien en te zien groeien en te verwerken, ga ik ooit vinden welke bij mij gaat passen. Dit is het meekrapbed. Waar het om gaat bij de meekrap is de wortel. En de wortel die moet 3 jaar minstens groeien om groot genoeg te worden. Dit is de wortel. En kijk maar, de wortels zijn ontzettend oranje. En als ik er eentje breek, zie je hier al een beetje rood zitten. Wat voor kleur je uit die wortel kunt krijgen, is dus dit rood. Wie kan ooit verzinnen dat uit deze plant deze kleur te krijgen is? Ik hoef niet iets te hebben wat helemaal van de andere kant van de wereld is. Want het is zo gaaf om te zien wat er hier onder mijn eigen voeten en handen te verkrijgen is. Als je gaat zoeken, oké, wat die anderen ergens anders maken is heel gaaf. Hoe zou ik dat zoiets kunnen maken met dat wat ik hier onder mijn voeten vind? En dat is wat ik eigenlijk nu aan het zoeken ben. En daar word ik zo blij van. En dan als je op die manier werkt, ga je jezelf verbinden met wat er om je heen is. Ga je zien wat er hier allemaal mogelijk is. En ga je ook zien wat de consequenties van je handelen zijn. Dat als je een tak snoeit, dan zie je wat er gebeurt rondom dat wat je aan het doen bent. Dit is een van de wedenbedden die we dit jaar hebben gezaaid en gebruik van hebben gemaakt. De wede die explodeert gewoon hier op deze kleigrond. Vorige week hebben we hier 2 kuipen met wedeblad laten fermenteren. Dus in dit blad komt na fermentatie deze kleur tevoorschijn.
Hoe heeft vlas jou als mens, jouw leven beïnvloed of veranderd?
Weet je Theodor, ik denk dat ik dat het beste kan vertellen als ik het vlas in mijn handen heb. Dit is een schoof van het vlas van dit jaar. En dan denk je van, ja, wat is dit nou? Dit is gewoon een plant. Nou, je ziet nog waar de zaadbolletjes hebben gezeten. En de wortel zit er ook nog aan. En hier kun je dan linnen van maken. En dan ga je dat vlas breken. En dan zie je daadwerkelijk allemaal vezeltjes verschijnen. En dat je echt denkt van wauw. Zo'n plant die gewoon al zo super mooi is dat die bloeit in allerlei kleuren. Ik heb hier zowel witbloeiend als paasbloeiend als blauwbloeiend, wat de meesten kennen, gehad. Maar ook paars en wit. Is het al een mooie plant, maar je kunt er dus linnen van maken. En dat vind ik zo geweldig. We zijn vergeten dat linnen van deze plant komt. We zijn vergeten wat spinnen is. Er zijn wel mensen die aan het spinnen zijn, maar de gewone mens, wie weet nou waar ze kleren van gemaakt zijn. Waar ze mee geverfd zijn. Ik denk dat het uiteindelijk niet om het linnen gaat, maar om de wijze waarop we als stewards zijn begonnen om te ontdekken wat we eigenlijk kwijt zijn geraakt. En de liefde en aandacht waar je je mee bezig gaat houden. En of dat nou linnen is, of dat het wol is, of hout is, of wilgetenen is. Maakt niet uit. Ik word er gewoon verliefd van. Van wat ik om me heen zie en dat het allemaal mogelijk is. Dat. En dat gun ik iedereen die daar open voor staat.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing the screen and sharing the film, and to Karin for making that film. I get tears in my eyes every time I watch it. Thank you to Theodore for making that film. Such a sensitive person. He was able to capture it so well. I understand that question where he said, what does this do for you? And you said, but Theodore, I need to have flax in my hands to explain that. So for you, it's very much a hands-on, experiential kind of change. You're going through transformation. I have a couple of questions, but since I know you and we can go down to the church together and talk on that bench, and I can pose all my questions to my heart's content, I'd rather give it to the audience. Let's see. I have here one comment. Thank you so much for this amazing journey. That's from Nada Koresh. Thank you so much. And Mandish tells us that this spinning technique is also practiced by her artisan partners in Peru. So I can see this presentation is resonating very much. Please join in the conversation. Let's have a fun time together. Solen just said something. I missed that. She says, representation of such an honest and sensible relationship with nature. Yes, very much. So please don't be shy. Come right out and talk with Karin. This is your big chance. She's willing to talk with you. How does it resonate for you? What kinds of questions do you have? And also people who are in the project, feel free to ask Karin, because you may not have seen how much progress she's made in the last year. Sewing her. Oh, yes, there we have a question. Thank you from Dagmar Venor. Hello, Dagmar. Hello, nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you very much to you all. I was a little bit late, so sorry for that, but I have also, wet eyes. I'm so impressed. Thank you very much for that. Insight in your life. It's so holistic and I'm so really impressed. And I have two questions. Is it possible to come with my students to you for an out of classroom session? This is the first, but we should be in contact for that. And the other thing is, because sorry for being late, but perhaps you said it. Do you have any experience with nettle plants? Because I had a workshop a little bit about nettle and how to handle, and I know it's very difficult to plant or to grow them because they're a little bit more sensitive than flax. That's my question.
The nettle here grows everywhere, so you don't have to cultivate it, you can forage it. And I have not so much experience with the nettle. I want to really much. I have some nettles drying for processing later on, but I know someone in England who does have much experience with it. He has made a nettle dress. It's Alan Brown, And when he's made also a documentary film about the nettled west called The Nettled West. And he has spun 7 years, foraged his nettles in the woods for free, of course, when you're foraging, and spun it himself and learning by doing how to process the nettle and how to spin, just like me. I also didn't do any spinning before this. I learned to spin, and now my threads are becoming thinner and thinner because of the progress I'm making with spinning. And then he learned also to weave, and now he's also learning to dye. I've seen pictures of him on Instagram learning the dyeing and the different colors. And but there's also so he made a film, and you can look it up on the internet. The Nettled West, and then you find him. Yeah, it's a great project also of him. And what he also said, and I hope that's also a bit clear in my little portrait, is how for me it's so important to, and it's also what I understand about stewardship, the responsibility, and but then what are you responsible for? What is that you have to take care of? And then you have to be attentive about everything what's going around you, going on around you. And then I'm spinning on an old European way, but well, all the spinning itself is not so, it's a very basic thing. You have a spindle like this one, and just a branch, you branch from a tree, and you have a wall, or this one is from wood or from clay, and you would stick it on your spindle, and you can spin a thread. And but you can buy one, but you can also look for around you if there is a branch. And I have my flax field on clay, so I want to make my own wall of clay on the ground where I grow my flax, and then I know what my things are made of, and I can repair it myself. And I see much more the complexity also of the network where I am part of in nature. It's not only the soil and not only the flax and the seeds, but also the trees and the birds and the insects and the weather, and everything is connected. And I'm also part of that, because the garden that I had my flax and my dye plants, it's also a vegetable garden and a fruit garden. So it's also giving me my food. And so it nurtures me also in that way, besides the sun and the beautiful place it is. So, yeah, I hope I answered your question a little more, but yeah. And of course, you may come and join me in garden. Yeah.
Yes, it would be wonderful to have you here, Dagmar, here in the little town of Oosterbeek. It's so beautiful. I'm seeing in the chat a very, very enthusiastic Rebecca Olds. Hi, Rebecca. Thank you for joining us. And she's sharing a lot. I'm wondering if you'd like to share it with the whole group orally, Rebecca, and talk with Karin. I don't think she's looking in the chat just yet. There you are.
Yes, hello. Hello, thank you so much for, today, is it a total of 3 hours just talking about the Lineage Project? I just feel like I'm in heaven. It's just tremendously important. But I'm originally American, but I've been in the UK for approaching 25 years, and I'm a postgrad student at the University of Glasgow. And there's a lot of interest here in historical linen production, but not in it's in the past thing, but it's more like why, in examining kind of the causes as to why the production died here, and whether it can be brought back. There's a lot of concern over the loss of some of the incredible traditional seed stock that Scotland used to obtain from the Netherlands from sort of the Middle Ages right through the 18th century. The seeds were coming from Holland. And when the industry basically began to suffer here in Scotland, and then interest in rebuilding that now, there's concerns over where do you get good stock of seed for growing flax with the long fibers suitable for so traditional linen production, because certainly here I go into any kind of traditional or commercial, I shouldn't say traditional, commercial fabric store, the only linen you're going to find is short fibers, because a lot of these flax in large scale production, which we do have in England. I actually live in the south of England, and we do have flax fields, but it's all being grown for the oil from the seeds, and they're not interested in growing it tall and that delicate but really strong fiber. So that's where I'm coming from. My husband and I have been talking for years about moving to the Netherlands for a lot of different reasons, and all of the connections I'm beginning to make with projects like this. Also some wool projects that are happening, but linen is it really interests me. So that's really all I had to say. At one point I did ask in the chat further up, and it was, I suppose, a pretty kind of selfish sort of question, is whether whether any of the linen that's being produced as woven textile, whether it's available to purchase anywhere outside, the collective of the various partners you have. Because if I could get my hands on a 5-meter length, I would love to put it to use into some historical reproductions of 18th century clothing, which is actually my day job, of working with museums to learn about their 18th century clothing and make reproductions where, as a tool to reach the public, to give, for example, children something that they can touch and handle and even put on in a way that you can't handle 300-year-old garments that are in these collections. They're too fragile, and you can't have the whole world handling them that way. But reproductions you can, and that's where my interest in historical textiles and what can you get today that is as close as possible to that beautiful handcraft tradition. Then, so I'm sorry I've thrown a lot at you, but that's where I'm coming from. I'm so excited to be here and listening to these wonderful experiences.
Rebecca, we can hardly wait to welcome you here in the Netherlands. And I can see Joan here on my screen, just ready to jump in and answer your question. She's so enthusiastic. Please, Joan, don't hold back.
I'm just going to put myself on mute again so everyone can hear Joan clearly when she answers my questions.
Hi, Maureen. This is so nice to hear about a very enthusiastic linen person or something. But I can answer one question for you. If you are looking for the fabric, I think that Sandra, she has sent the information sheets. You can find the email address for the linen kavels. And then you can order still some fabric if you like to. And for the seeds, maybe Karin can also answer that, because for the shared stewardship, we have been buying the seeds from Vanderbilt in Zeeland. But I am very curious where Karin bought her seeds. So I give the podium back to Karin.
Just a quick word that Zeeland is a province of the Netherlands. It used to be very, very involved in both dyeing and weaving. But on to you, Karin, go for it.
Yeah, well, I'm doing a research about the seeds and the old seeds. And I'm also I was in a study group in England, and there was also someone from Ireland, and she wanted to have seeds from Ireland. And I then connected her with the seed bank here in Wageningen. So you can find old seeds that are out of the commercial business at seed banks. And I think there are, in many countries, they have their own seed banks. But in Wageningen, they have also from other countries. And in Friesland, also part of the Netherlands, there's someone, Heinz Sterk, who had revived the flax seeds that were I'm looking for the right word.
In het Nederlands kan ik vertalen.
Kweken van planten.
You just say to grow.
Yeah, growing
Cultivate.
the seeds from a company in Friesland. And that there are 12 different seeds. They were commercial, but disappeared because of sicknesses in the flax plant, or because the pulling is done not anymore by hand, but by machine. So you have different qualities you're looking for in a plant. And he has revived 12 seeds, and so he has now a living archive there. And I had we with the stewards had 3 different kinds of seeds from there, and I had them also grown on my small portion. And the seeds from last year I've sown this year, so now I have much more seeds. That's the richness of when you have your own plants and they grow there. You also have seeds, and then one plant gives so much more seeds. So you have your stock will grow bigger and bigger, so you can give away to other people.
Thank you so much. What was Hans in Friesland? What is his name?
Heinz Sterk.
How
But the seeds are
Maybe put it in the chat. Would that make sense?
Yes,
yeah,
So that
lovely.
you don't have to worry about
Lovely.
spelling.
I think I'm going to need to come visit you, Karin. I think.
well, you're welcome. Yeah, of course.
Okay, well, you're at that, Karin. We look forward to continuing this discussion during the discussion period after all is done. But we're now at the moment that we'd like to talk with Hans Hutting. And let's see if I can share screen so you can see what I have for Hans there. Is that working? You can see Hans Hutting. He's, this whole process of becoming the moderator for this session has been very exciting for me because I've met such interesting people. Hans I've met through this process. And I have to say that one of the things that bothers me most about industrial fashion is waste. And you immediately think that I'm thinking of wasted fiber material and so on. But I'm speaking here of the waste of human resources. There is so much creativity. There is so much tradition. There is so much capacity to make clothing, to design, and it's in the hands of a very few and dominated by industry. And Hans is one of those people who's just incredibly creative. I think he must create the whole day long. And he's doing something absolutely unique, original. He is interested in a sustainable fashion world, and he's also interested in inclusivity, and he's combined the two. So he's developed a company called Fundies, and he's in the fashion quarter of Arnhem. That's where he lives and that's where he practices.
Ik ben Hans Hutting van het modelabel Fundies. Ik probeer met mijn modelabel maatschappelijke inclusie op een duurzame manier aan te jagen. En vandaag zijn we in mijn huis en in mijn atelier, in mijn creative space in Arnhem. Ik zit in het modekwartier. Daar heb ik ook een atelier met winkel. Ik ben bij het Linnen Project gekomen als steward door Pascal. Ik werd door haar gevraagd van, hey, kom je helpen bij het eerste veldje? Toen kon ik niet en daarna dacht ik, nou weet je wat, ik doe gewoon mee met het nieuwe veld. In het begin wist ik niet zo goed wat ik ermee wilde doen. En ik vond het vooral heel erg fijn om in verbinding te staan, andere mensen te leren kennen, kennis te delen. En dat vond ik eigenlijk vooral voor mij het leukste en het meest waardevol aan stewards zijn. Door samen te zijn, kennis met elkaar te delen. Uiteindelijk heeft het ook wel wat meer voor mij zelf gebracht. In de zin van dat ik zelf ben gaan spinnen, gaan weven. Eigenlijk van alles ben gaan doen. De vertraging van het linnenproces, gewoon hoe het gaat op het land. En soms moet je wachten, soms moet je onkruid wieden. En dan stap voor stap. En het gaat best wel traag. En die vertraging brengt voor mij ook wel gewoon wat rust in het dagelijks leven. Dus dat is ook gewoon heel prettig eigenlijk. Welkom in mijn winkel/atelier. Alles wat ik maak zijn van leftover materialen. Dus het kunnen afgedankte materialen zijn van de mode-industrie. En hier heb ik toevallig ook 2 voorbeelden hangen van een item waar linnen is in verwerkt. Dit was linnen met waterschade. Dat heb ik weer geverfd in een lichte roze. De blauwe strepen zaten er al in. En er zijn witte stippen opgezeefdrukt. En dan met matchend tuniek en broek. De een draagt het als pyjama, de ander gaat ermee naar de club. In mijn bedrijf, ik maak heel veel ondergoed en een soort van athleisure wear, maar dan met een queer knipoog. Ja, dat heeft wel gewoon heel veel het stewardship ook gebracht. Dus dat ik ook met historische stoffen ben gaan werken. En dat is ook het mooie aan het historische linnen. Soms is het 100, 150 jaar oud en het is nog een topconditie. Dus ja, je kan die ook nagaan als je daar dus iets van maakt. Dat gaat ook nog heel lang mee. Dit hiervorm is een dookrol. Dat zijn hele mooie rollen. En die werden vroeger in de linnenkast neergezet. En daar kwamen al je vriendinnen op bezoek. En dan ging je vertellen van, kijk, ik heb zoveel linnen, kijk hoe rijk ik ben. En natuurlijk hele rijke boerinnen, die hadden natuurlijk, of meerdere linnenkasten vol hiermee. Ja, dit is natuurlijk gewoon topkwaliteit linnen, in Nederland gemaakt, in Nederland geoost, vaak nog handgesponnen, soms wel machinaal geweven. Maar soms ook gewoon echt thuis geweven aan huis. En die was ik weer, reinig ik weer, want soms zijn ze helemaal geel van ouderdom. En dan maak ik daar weer nieuwe kleding van, wat ik vandaag aan heb. En hier ook een bestelling van een klant. En ja, zelf ben ik een Exter, dus na het zeefdrukken zet ik er altijd strassteentjes omheen. Hier zie je 2 verschillende jaargangen liggen. Je ziet daar ook in, deze is wat meer grijzer, deze is wat meer geel. En ja, dat heeft gewoon met de bacterie te maken tijdens het rotingsproces. Deze vlaspoppen zijn eigenlijk zo al verder verwerkt dat je er bijna mee kan gaan spinnen. Dit is het handgesponnen garen. Dit is ongeloogd, dus niet uitgekookt. En deze is dus nog 1 keer gekookt en dan zie je al dat het veel lichter wordt, grijzer. Wat ik er dan uiteindelijk mee doe, zijn deze framepjes. Die zijn van aardewerk. Ik vind het zelf heel erg mooi om met aardewerk te werken, omdat aardewerk heeft iets heel erg fragiels, maar kan ook heel sterk zijn. En het zijn dus kleine weefraampjes met smileys. Ik weef dan helemaal met de hand, met mijn eigen garen, een soort van gaas. En dan heb ik weer op historisch linnen, heb ik dit helemaal in opgehoogd goud geborduurd. Linnen heeft heel veel waarde. Heel veel mensen zien vandaag de dag eigenlijk de waarde niet van linnen, want het is een vervelende stof, het kreukt. Je moet het strijken. Nou, je hoeft het helemaal niet te strijken. Kreukels kunnen ook heel mooi zijn. Het leeft heel erg. Het is heel erg sterk. Het gaat heel lang mee. Dus linnen is eigenlijk een op en top duurzame keuze. Ja, als je gewoon een paar mooie linnen shirts in je kast hebt hangen, dan ben je voor de rest van je leven klaar.
You know, when I watched that film, I just longed to have a couple of linen shirts in my closet. Thank you, Hans, for your inspiring presentation. I think I have a list of questions, but again, I'm going to hold back because I think there are many questions in the audience. So please put up your hand or just speak and let's have a conversation because Hans is willing to share much more. He has a lot. You can see he's very creative. He does a lot, and he has a lot to share. Hey, let's see in the chat if we got something here. You know, Hans, I'm really struck by the theme of history that comes through in your film and in your presentation. That you use old linen. I'm jealous there again. I want to have old linen. And I think that you mentioned to me at one point that underwear used to be made of linen. And I see you're experimenting with spinning, with weaving, with artworks, but I'm wondering how in the future, if you have aspiration to put together the linen and the underwear.
Well, I think one of my biggest dream is to make linen underwear that follows your body as you desire. And nowadays we wear a lot of underwear with elastan in it, and that's not biodegradable. And to make underwear that fits your body as you desire, you need a biodegradable version of elastan covered with linen, that you get a elastic yarn, and then you can make like fully knitted underwear. That's my biggest dream to make. But first I want to know more about the spinning process by hand, and maybe one day put this dream to realization.
I hope so, Hans, very much. And knowing you, it will be realized. Sarah, I'm delighted you have a question. Go for it.
I don't know if it's a question or an observation that will turn into a question. Hans, I really enjoyed seeing your work, and I really got this feeling of like joy through this, kind of like the joy of linen going on here. I don't know if that's, do you feel that, or is that something that's just very me? I love wearing linen, and one of the things you said, people don't like ironing it, and you don't have to iron it, and I really love how you can iron it and have one garment, and then you can wear it and crease it up, and then you've got a completely different garment, and it's just two for the price of one. But I really like the playfulness and the joy that you were bringing to you know, across your work, at the same time as you've got something very important to say. And I wanted to ask you a bit more about your, it's almost like I want to ask you about your personal relationship with linen, which maybe is a bit much here, but
nothing is too much for me, as you can see. But I think the most joyful thing about the things I make is the love that I put into it. And I think that's, for me, the most joyful thing, that I see someone who loves my work, who wears it, or who hangs it on the wall. And yeah, so also fashion for me is joyful and a party, and I think clothing should bring you joy and comfort and pride, or enhance your character, or say something about who you are. And that's also, I think, in historical theme, I think it's also very nice that you can see what we do with fashion as humans, and what some people do nowadays, like making fashion in bulk, but we don't need fashion in bulk. And I think that's one of the joyful things about having my own store, being my own boss, that I can do whatever I want. And that brings a lot of joy to me.
One more question for Hans, please. Because we have to move to the next segment. We have two people who are going to speak with us for a half hour. But oh, Sarah, you got another?
So there's a great question in the chat.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
About queering linen.
It's in the chat.
Okay, let's just see what's here. I find it fascinating how you use linen in your art while having a queer vibe. how does queering linen get expressed in your practice? How do you interact with your audience? That's an interesting question, Pierre-Antoine.
A very interesting question, and I don't know if I have the answer, because I think queer as a term is for a lot of people something different. And for me, it's that I don't have to live up to the expectations of the world, and because I can do whatever I want. And for me, that's being queer, that I don't have to live up to other people's expectations, what a man should be, or a woman, or whatsoever. And so queering my linen practice is, for me, is just putting my values into the linen, like making those frames and embroider on the linen, or re-dye historical linen and put more value to it in my queer designing way. So that, and how I interact with my audience a lot through social media, but also in my store, friends. So I hope I answered your question a bit.
Well, I hope you'll be able to continue your conversation, because obviously it's there's some wealth there to dig up. I, unfortunately, am very limited by time, and we've got two more very exciting speakers who've met each other through the Linen Project. By the way, Hans, let me say thank you very much before I move on. That was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm speaking of Henrike Gootjes and Carolien Evers. I've met Henrike again through this job I have of being a moderator. And Carolien I met years ago, I think the 2018 State of Fashion, when she was knitting a coat for a car. And I've since discovered that she does a lot of knitting of a second skin for all different kinds of unexpected objects. So she's very active and very passionate as a hand knitter. And Henrike is a regeneration strategist, artist, and educator, very much a creative. There's so much more to say, but I don't want to cut in because our time is so short. So we're going to move into Carolien's studio, where I see they both have their computers on. So I see Henrike sometimes walking from the screen of Carolien into her own screen. It's wonderful. And they're going to do a show and tell for us and explain what the Linen Project means to them. So please take it away.
Okay. And I think if we start talking, we become the main screen. Is that right? Or do I have to do something for that?
I think you become the main screen. If people have it on speaker, then where you speak is where the screen springs to. So it's not a problem. Yeah. You can speak in either screen.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Thank you, Sandra, for introducing us. Well, there is nothing happening.
I think so.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
You're definitely on the large screen.
Okay.
I think they do it differently for the person who is speaking so it doesn't interrupt. But rest assured, it's working.
Great.
Okay.
Then we continue. So welcome to Carolien's studio. We are down the street from Hans. So he is just close by. And you can see in the studio of Carolien is a lot of knitted things going on. And here in the back, we have brought our linen.
Yeah.
Should we show it? Yeah. So this is the linen that I'm making garments of, and we're also in a small group make this hand woven garment, which is like, I think we're probably halfway with it. I put it back. And we have, well, I have made this vest. It's linen and wool, so both is very local fiber, because I'm very interested in how the local, how the soil of where we live can produce textiles that we can wear. And that also, if you, like Hans was also saying, if you lose fibers, they're not pollutive, huh? They are biodegradable, so you don't have to worry that it wears a little or that fibers of it fall out. And we both joined a workshop to make pants, the jeans.
Yeah, and that was done by the Crafts Council and by Enschede Textielstad, because they woven the fabrics, and we could choose from a satin or a caper binding, or just a normal one-off binding. I don't know how you call it with weaving.
That's one up, one down in weaving.
Yeah, one up, one down. Yeah, thank you so
Tabby
much.
weave, yeah.
Yeah, just normal flat. And so we've done it like totally by hand. So all the patterns are done by hand, and it's also the you could choose also for the yarn to stitch that it's also like linen. And mine is not yet finished, but I'm way on. So, and I don't use a zipper because I think like buttons are more appropriate for if you're using the flags and you want to have it's like it's all can be go away. So then it's better to do that. And that's also a thing that I use in my own work, you know, that I use a lot of original materials. So it's all sustainable, environment friendly. It's not all from the Netherlands, so it has sometimes a little bit of transport, but that has to do with the quality of the wool and with the way how the cattle was bred and everything like that. So, and that's because like Dutch wool is getting better and better, but it's not there yet, but almost.
Carolien, does this mean that you're actually shifting a little bit from wool to linen? Obviously, you're a member of the project, and yet you're a wool person. How are you rhyming that?
Now, I was like asked by Hans when we met on the street, well, isn't the linen project something for you? We're looking for linen stewards, and maybe you can still join us. And I was like, okay, tell me something more about it. And I followed it already on Instagram from the Craft Council. And I was like, okay, I'm really into that. And it's also nice because if you make like a combination, that it's like, will be like a yarn to knit by hand, because that's the thing I do, knitting by hand. And if you can develop a yarn which includes also the flax, and you have a kind of normal stiffness, because wool is like it can be wobbly, or you have to knit it like really firm. But if you can still having a loose knit, but still holding its form, and that's what I think it's really interesting. And also to have like a thicker yarn from flax where you can actually knit with, so that it has that it already has kind of like a workman's material, but that you can make it like that the interaction is going to be like gender, no gender at all, but you can use it for your own upholstery, like your pants, your shirt, or whatever. So, and that's what I'm interested in making like a thicker yarn and a combination yarn.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
And also like the stewardship is also really nice because you interact with so many people and you all have like kind of the same love, that you're into the slowness and the slow fashion of it, and the outcome that it's really no stress involved. So, and it lowers your stress. So that's the same with hand knitting. It lowers your stress if everything is going like really well. So I really enjoy that. And I learn a lot of things.
I was wondering about that the two of you, I think, met through this project, didn't you? And
Yeah.
I've been struck by what Karin has said and Hans has said, and now you, Carolien, about the connections that are being made through this project, or that feeling of connectedness through everybody who's within the project. And I wonder, maybe if you'd, Henrike, like to speak to the connection that you've developed with Carolien through all of this, because my sense is that you're very different kinds of designers, very different kinds of creators, and yet you found each other in this project.
Yeah, and we're both interested in the also the working of wool, the working of linen, its history, but also how how the economic and political system has diminished the whole infrastructure for it. Or that's maybe a little bit more in my interest than yours, but she recognizes this very much. And I think that a lot of the linen project and the working on the land and the struggle of the weather and how we cannot really set dates, because then you discussed that you were going on the Wednesday, but then it rains or it hails, or but then all of a sudden you have to go to the field to weed or to take care of it, and just the natural qualities it brings that you work together, but also the fantastic qualities of the fiber. Wool and linen both are very good thermo. It cools you down, or it warms you. It's biodegradable. Both are antibacterial. So they just have all these fantastic qualities. And and we see if you can combine them, you have the warmth of the wool and the shortness of the wool, and you have the strength of the linen. So for this vest, for example, I experimented with felting. So you cannot felt linen, but you can felt wool. But if you then mix in some of the linen, it kind of wapens it. It kind of strengthens it. And getting to know Carolien, and we have done some workshops together. It's just super easy to work together and to
What are your aspirations for the future, moving on?
Well, I'm going to do like a small project with Hans, so that we make like the cuddles, or how they are called, the leaf ends from the flax. We're gonna do something with the wool with that, and we do it with at a
spinnery.
At a spinnery in Friesland, and so, but we that's on progress. So, and I think we'll be doing something like next year that we can test it out for a product or something like that.
Do you still continue to work on the lands that are being used by the Linen Project?
Yeah.
but the best time to grow the linen is from April, and then 100 days. So that's till about July, August. So you can also have a winter flax, but that's more to enrich the soil. It's not so good for the fibers. But if you want the long fibers, you start in April, and then you harvest in
July, August.
Yeah.
And then
so we call this kind of the winter work season,
yeah,
which is the heckling and the spinning and the cleaning and the weaving.
So you go right back to the traditional yearly cycle that's
yeah.
by nature. Sorry, Carolien, what were you going to say?
I just want to aim it.
Okay.
Yeah, and my plan for this coming year is to make the garments. So now the fabric is made, and to make fabrics, to embroider them, and to make personalized garments for people to wear. And I think it's very comfortable to wear, and also by wearing it, you kind of also. In Dutch, it's a really nice combination of that je draagt het ook uit. So you wear it, but you also make a statement by wearing it.
Yeah.
So we made the jeans. I'm wearing it, but I don't know if I can show.
Maybe you have to stand up.
I will stand up here.
Wow.
Of the handmade jeans.
So you mean hand stitched?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do they do it?
And that was with a workshop we tried with the Crafts Council, and I'm sure they will offer it more often in the next year.
Yeah, they're really going to offer it. For us, we were the tryout group, so and it's for sure that's coming, and also that it will take a little bit more time than people could expect, because it's somebody weaving, but isn't possible. So that's going to be, but that's going to be also on the side of the Craft Council when they are going to start with it.
Excellent. I'm signed up. I'm coming.
Yeah. Oh, great.
And it's really nice. And we had like Patricia, somebody who's totally into hand stitching everything, and she used to be a pattern maker at G-Star, the jeans brand, and so she is hosting the jeans
workshop,
jeans flax workshop.
Yeah.
Has she stopped in industrial fashion and shifted over to this transformation?
Yeah, she did.
She made like really a transformation from don't want to do that anymore and just going to do this.
That's
so that's
and she's more one-offs and helping other people create their own. Yeah. So that's really great. Yeah, and that's also why I decided to just make one-offs personally for people. So I'm making a jeans for a farmer in South Australia.
Wow.
And he is also a biodynamic and regenerative farmer. So he said, I must have jeans of linen to work in, because I can't wear cotton or nylon. It's not in my thoughts and values anymore. So he was really keen to get a pair of linen pants.
Please give him my very best and tell him I agree.
Yeah. Yes.
I see that Joan has a question for you.
Okay.
Go for it, Joan.
Hi. Oh, this was also very nice to hear. Thank you. But I just wanted to say about the workshops. They were the pilot, make your own jeans, and the project together with the Crafts Council is planning to do more workshops. to make your own jeans, but also maybe to make your own blouse. So we have different kind of bindings in the fabric, but we will do that in the future, definitely. And I was a little bit, I couldn't join you, and I was really very sorry, because I think it's wonderful to wear your own made jeans.
Yeah.
And the other thing, Carolien, yeah, we didn't meet each other in the stewardship, I think, because you were
I joined really later.
Yeah, but you are a hand knitter. I'm also a very enthusiastic hand knitter. And I also want I also belong to a more thicker yarn in the linen to make wonderful knitting. So I think we should connect. Yeah, that would be wonderful to
absolutely.
And share ideas. So that's what I wanted to say. So even in the projects, in this time, we make new connections. So very nice to hear your story. Thank you.
Really nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if you're open to it. We have a question here from our friend Solen Kipos in Turkey. Solen, would you care to open your microphone and ask the question in person?
Oh, hello.
Here you are. Hi.
Everyone. It's a great session. See you all, these wonderful friends and new people that I didn't know with this all fantastic work. Thank you to all. I'm very much impressed about this this how you take this craftsmanship and develop a new develop a new relationship with nature in such a respectful way. I had a question actually to Karin before, which yeah, I understood that was the stewardship of this project, but if she would consider to bring this into collective level, like a social experience, like a kind of ritualistic experience, like with sharing other people and enjoying about this independent experience. And maybe she would like to answer this, I don't know. And my last question was to the last speakers. Sorry if I cannot remember your name, but fantastic that you actually challenge this industrial and fast production of, especially like a product like jeans. I mean, I'm living in a country in Turkey that's there's a waste of production industrially, and we have great exports. So I'm also teaching in university, so that's why I raised this question, because when we talk about slow fashion and patience and respectful development of these craftsmanships, and we have difficulties about telling this to new generations, to young people. I mean, they have a kind of different awareness about environment, but they don't have such patience about actually working on these products, and because it's not really inherited to them from their babyhoods. So what do you think about this? You know, what could be the ways that we can make them love, and we can really bring this into, you know, collective experience, that, or a kind of more intergenerational kind of experience, that I would say what you are actually achieving is really wonderful. Even at Joan, thank you about this. I have seen this in the economic level, and there are some lands in Turkey that we are trying to do it with linen and flax. Yeah, we have still, you know, that compete this with industrial pace is quite difficult, because there are these different economic realities there. So thank you for giving me the word, but you know, I just wanted to you know, reflect these ideas, and if you would like to answer these or put your opinions, I will be happy. Thank you so much.
Would Carolien and Henrike like to start with it? It's still your show right now.
Yeah, I think in respect to the students, I think because we're living like in such a fast moving world, maybe it's kind of a way of getting the respect is just doing it by hand, or just visiting also a factory where they actually make the jeans, and then you can see the process, or how it's bleached, or how it's sanded and things like that. And then you can see what horrible situations these are, and that you can put that in a along if you make it yourself and with a sewing machine, and it doesn't have necessarily to be like hand stitched, but that you can feel the difference by making it yourself, or seeing how somebody a low paid worker has to do it in a factory, so that you can taste, feel, and smell it. So, and I think that gives a lot of awareness.
Yeah.
Especially because Turkey is such a big export country for jeans and things like that. So that would be like
Yeah.
a good thing, I think.
And my answer as as regenerative strategist and educator is that the learning is so much, and especially transformative learning is so much in the doing and in the experience of making, which is not offered to young people very often. And if they do, like we did the workshop, and they learn to knit a little, or to spin a little, or to weave a little, that gives insight in the process, but also is an opportunity to really have agency over what you wear, what you make, how it's made, to make it personal. There is the one aspect is the awareness of how awful or how degenerating the process of fashion is, how this is pushed so much by over consuming and kind of race to the bottom. So I think that's important to bring that to the table, but I think you have to merge that with the joy and the festivity of making together, of making it festive, if like Hans is such a great example of, because it's also this joy and this feeling of power or agency you have. If you're able to create, if there's nothing, and then by your doing something comes into existence.
And that like craftsmanship is not really like old-fashioned. That's also a typecasting what's always used. So craftsmanship is like the
new cool thing.
It's the new power.
Joan, do you have something you'd like to add?
Yes, I have something to add, but thank you for the answers of Henrike and Carolien, because that's also what it is about. But what I wanted to say again, that's one of our students, Marieke van Michem. She went to this new design economy in Florence, and this design economy was started by Liedewij Edelkoort. And so Marieke went there, and she gave she gave all the presentations and educations for 2 weeks to the students about processing the linen, growing the linen, working with the linen, weaving by hand, spinning by hand, and the students were so enthusiastic. And we feel as a linen project, so especially Pascal, because she has also been, of course, working for Artes University. And once she was giving a presentation to the students about the linen project, and the students said to her, why don't we learn that at this school? Why are we not educated in this? We want to know, we want to learn. So therefore, we have been talking about it, and that will also be a wish for the linen project for the future, to make a new kind of education, maybe for a year, and then offer that to young people or to everybody who wants to learn about it. So we think it can be very valuable, and that starts again from within the linen project, the stewardship and the stewards all together. So all these movements, you know, they grow all the time. I think it's wonderful. So that is what I wanted to tell you.
I wonder if I could follow up on that with a quote from Henrike herself. I asked all the participants in this webinar if they would like to say something about what the project meant to them. And I was really struck by what Henrike wrote. Henrike, I hope you don't mind that I'm just going to read this out, what you wrote on the Google Docs. She says, for me, it's exciting to explore the relationship between soil and soul. Life in the soil is vitally important. The more varied, the more complex, the more richly all lives are supported, and the more resilient it is to change. It's not purely by chance that flax and sheep provide such a positive influence to the soil. Biodiversity and restoration from their degradation of modern agriculture. By cultivating textile fibers locally and using them in clothing and celebrating their qualities, we move toward an economy that mirrors ecology. I thought that was a nice sort of theoretical nugget to complement what all three of you have said about passing it on to the next generation, that it's not the past, it's life, it's the future, it's now, it's the past, it's the present, it's all time, it's being with nature. So thank you so much for that, Henrike. That was a very powerful statement of yours. There was more to it, but that's all I've written down to share with you today. I noticed that we're moving towards, what's this, 3 o'clock? Angela, could you help me with, do I have more time? Should I screen share about the next segment, or should we fill the next 10 minutes? What latitude do I have?
We have another 10 minutes to have a conversation, and then we stop the recording. And then we have the sharing council, which is an open space, unrecorded, to share, to express gratitude, to exchange. I mean, we have already been doing it, but so it's just beyond the recording.
Okay, then I wonder if I could pass the microphone again to Sarah, who's made a very important comment, I think, in the chat. Are you still there, Sarah? Maybe not. Maybe I'll read out what she wrote. Is that okay? Yeah. I'm struck by the contrast between the previous session in Croatia, where we were talking about the importance of the dignity of labor within garment factories, both under socialism and capitalism. It feels to me that the real contrast is not between handcrafting and a total absence of skill or community in the factory worker, but more about challenging the race to the bottom and the overconsumption that you mentioned. Mm. Yeah, good comment. Another paradigm, another whole way of being in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and I've talked to Joan about this often, that this race to the bottom is so normalized and taken as the only way. And also, yeah, if you look historically and politically, that, yeah, we need consumers to drive the economy. Well, we have enough, huh? We have enough. But that this shift in paradigm, yeah, it's not easy to shift. But like the quote you were reading, it makes me really like enthusiastic, and just gives me so much joy to think of this this practice of the local fiber as addressing so many wicked problems. In the Netherlands, we have this big nitrogen problem, and it's causing, yeah, a lot of pain and struggle and discussion. But it's it's so related to to this paradigm of that human beings are kind of predators, or that we want a race to the bottom, and that we are what's it called, the survival of the fittest. Well, this is misunderstood. We can also look at ourselves as a species that is caring and that wants to nurture and that is harmonious and that is a cooperator in its environment.
Are there any last words that any of the participants would like to share? Last insights? I feel we've come to kind of a holistic moment here in the seminar where we're looking at a very much that transformative quality of this project. It's not about, maybe it's what Karin said, it's not about making linen. It's about all of the things that come with it that transform our lives.
Absolutely.
If any of you'd like to make a last comment, something you wish you'd said earlier, please, this is your moment.
Well, I think the way how it's going with the Linen Stewards, it's like you're connecting like with a new family. You know, you start from scratch and you let it grow till it's grown, and then you harvest it, but you all do it together. So it's one big family, and then somebody join in later and some have to leave, but it's always on the move and always on the move. So it's always growing year after year. So I think that's a nice thing, because it can be a never-ending story.
Moving towards the end here, I wanted to share something that I wrote after I met Karin the first time, Karin, and I came home and put this down on a piece of paper. Our clothing has been how we have worked the fruits of our earth into the beauty of how we present ourselves. It is our relationship to our world and all living creatures. The profound mutuality of our existence and that of our world is the most important ingredient that we must recover. And this can only occur if we recover our sense of gratitude. And I have to say that a sense of gratitude is what bubbles up in me when I see what this linen project is doing for all of you, for your friends around you, for the transformation it's creating, for Artes, for, you know, it's just like the pebble in the water with the rings moving outward. It's the butterfly wings that create a tornado elsewhere. Mind you, we don't want tornadoes these days or hurricanes, but anyway, it reverberates. The power of what you're doing, it must not be underestimated, because really you are the seed for, I think, future true sustainability. I have to thank you from the bottom of my heart for an absolutely exquisite webinar. You've done a brilliant job of sharing your passion and in very material ways. I have to say, all the power to you. May the future be 1,000 times longer than your 3-year past. And with that, I'd like to bring this webinar to a close. And we will shift now into a very special thing that Angela just mentioned, called the Sharing Council.
But not before we thank you, Sandra. Thank you so much for your exciting and your very warm-hearted moderating of this panel. So thank you very much. Thank you, the Linen Project, for joining us, the RCDF, into the Global Fashioning Assembly, for hosting this 2-hour session. So thank you very much.
Thank you.